to start the debate with Prime Minister. Here.
Oh wait, can I have a clarification? What do you mean by POI sign? Can I just type in the chat?
Yeah, you can type in the chat, but if you want to, if like, let's say the speaker didn't see the chat, you can just put up a note and switch on your camera so that the speaker speaking can see. Yeah. So I also encourage you to open up the camera when you're speaking as well. All right. That's all. I'd like to call upon the Prime Minister to start the debate. Here.
Hello, am I heard?
Yeah, it can be a bit louder, I think.
Is this better?
Yeah.
Okay, I will start in 3, 2, 1. We say on our side of the house that the protection of lives is of utmost importance in this debate. In our world, Batman ought to kill the most heinous of criminals such as the Joker or the Penguin. However, he will not kill the criminals that could be rehabilitated, those in a proper state of mind, and those who might commit crimes because of this, and not those who might commit crimes because of desperation, not because it is their lives and what they are used to, as this was his original guiding principle. He will, however, kill those who are proven time and time again to be crazy, and beyond salvation, those who continue to wreak havoc and create chaos. Now on to my main arguments. My first point is that it is ethical for Batman to kill extremely heinous criminals such as the Joker. Now, why is this true? What standards make it true? First is the characteristics of criminals like these, and second is the consequences of criminal actions. Now, why does this happen on our side? First is that we say that criminals are in a state of mind to cause chaos in society. Their main goal, more often than not, is to reach their own goal of things, such as gaining money through any means possible, whether it be through killing other humans or holding hostages and such. In a city like Gotham, one that is crime-ridden and where the police is insufficient in stopping these criminals, we believe that Batman should kill. Now, why? We believe that criminals will keep on committing crimes, and the only way to stop this is to allow Batman to kill them. These criminals work on a mindset that committing crimes are the only way for them to reach their goals. When they are in jail and when they get out, they go back to committing crimes because it is the only thing that they know. They are so used to it that it has become their life, and that it is hard for them to change themselves because they know nothing else but committing these crimes. We believe that by killing this one heinous criminal, Batman is able to protect countless more people in the future. It is counterproductive for Batman, whose main goal is to stop these criminals in the city, to abide to his non-killing rule. Because when he stops the criminal from committing crimes on one day, the criminal only lives to fight another day, which is extremely likely in the case of these criminals. Additionally, some of these criminals do not think straight. Take a look at Joker, where he is a mentally ill criminal and a psychopath. Therefore, we cannot treat these criminals with the same way that we treat others who think straight and are able to be rehabilitated. This only serves as further proof that these heinous criminals will keep on committing crimes, keep on killing people as they live to fight another day because of how Batman spares them of their lives in opposition's world. These criminals will also have a network of people in the criminal underworld, making sending them to jail a useless solution to their crimes, because with this network, they are able to perhaps influence the corrupt officials that we saw in the info slide to release them from jail, where when they get out, they could wreak havoc on society again. In our world, we believe that Batman is able to stop criminals effectively by abolishing this no-kill rule. We believe that he will be able to stick to his motives of fighting crime and saving the city and not fall into the lure of the power that he has. Now, why is this true? The motion says that Batman should abolish this no-kill rule, meaning that this no-killing rule was pre-existing, and even if he had all the opportunities to do so, he remained true to his beliefs and stick to not killing people. That being said, we can see the strength of the willpower of Batman, and this is a proof as to why we believe that in our world, he will not abuse this power that he has and only use it to fight evil. Second, Batman became Batman in the first place because he witnessed the death of his parents. We believe that this will only serve as a fuel for Batman to use this power that he has to kill these heinous criminals justly. He became Batman to stop criminals that kill people, just like those that killed his parents, and his own belief is to not become the people like those who killed his parents in the first place. He therefore is able to stick to these beliefs because the actions that he does are for the sake of justice, and in turn, he is able to protect countless number of people in the future. Now, why is this important? We believe that the possible loss of human lives, which cannot be reversed when these crazy and heinous criminals live to fight another day and can cause even more potential harm in the future. Additionally, we have proved to you also why these types of criminals cannot be treated by the conventional ways of rehabilitating criminals, and why more often than not, they will return to their usual ways of committing crimes and taking lives. Which is why we say that when Batman is able to kill and stop these heinous criminals permanently, he is able to protect countless more lives in the future so that these criminals won't able to ruin lives anymore in the future. Second argument is that the public view of Batman is better in our world. Now, why is this true? First, we say that opposition might argue that by Batman killing people, he becomes less of a symbol as someone who saves their society. We say that this is completely untrue because what makes Batman less of a symbol is when he actively fails to kill psychopathic criminals like the Joker, a criminal who continues to randomly kill people, separate families, hold children hostage, and throw laughing gas just for fun. He's only temporarily stopping them, which allows these criminals to regroup and potentially cause harm again to the public in the future. Perhaps one of these instances where they are able to regroup and come back stronger becomes the day that Batman might arrive late at the crime scene, putting countless numbers of individuals at risk. When the public sees that Batman is somebody who fails them, because of this rule, the public believes in him less and less and maybe sees him as a failure because of how he is not able to permanently stop these criminals and how lives may be lost because of these crazy criminals. Now, why is this important? We say that the public support and vote for Batman is extremely important. For Batman to be allowed in the city where vigilante activity is heavily debated, the public needs to see that Batman's vigilante activities are actually able to help prevent many casualties, save lives, and essentially deems him as someone essential to the community. Only when Batman chooses to become the savior and stops permanently these crazy criminals will he be seen as a savior and continually be allowed to operate in the city. And for all of these, we are very proud to propose.
All right. We thank the Prime Minister for that speech. Now I'd like to call upon the Leader of Opposition. Here.
Hi, am I audible?
Yes.
Just can you please give me 15 seconds? I'll just refresh because last time I had a lot of issues with my connectivity.
Okay, sure. Just to confirm, does OO consent to being recorded?
Yeah, DLO has no problem.
DLO?
LO has no problem.
Okay, yeah. OO consents.
Hi, am I audible again? I'm so sorry.
Yes, you are. You can start anytime.
Okay, cool. I will start in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Panel. This debate is about establishing whether Batman abolishing his no-kill rule is actually going to lead to the change that OG wants to see, and whether this is the best way or the most moral way to do this. If he disproves that, we take it over them. So before I move on to constructives, a few rebuttals, right? First, PN comes in and tells us that Batman will selectively kill. We tell you that is highly unlikely, right? Because Batman is an individual and he is, after all, human. And as this individual has extreme martial arts power and like a lot of resources in his disposal, we can easily establish that simply killing off these individuals, not just Joker or like some psychopathic criminal or even like lower level criminals like Harley Quinn, right? We tell you that it is just intrinsically easier for Batman to kill them rather than like systematically dismantle their operations. And we tell you that as a human, Batman is so much more likely to go ahead and kill them in the first place. But secondly, let's talk about Batman killing them is going to end crime, right? We tell you this is not the effective way to end crime because we, like opening government, characterize crime as a mantle, right? We tell you that crime is never going to end because crime isn't individual. Crime isn't limited to Joker or any other villain, but it is something that exists regardless. Am I audible? I'm guessing I am, right? This is proof. This can be proved by death penalty existing, but crime not ending because people continue to commit crime regardless of the consequence. They have so many other motivators. Lastly, they come in and tell us that public will see him as a savior. That is where we directly clash with our first constructive, right? We tell you that Batman's aim is to be the savior of Gotham City, and how that is directly go against killing, because public has faith in him and they have respect in him, because they don't see him as a criminal. They don't see this vigilante as a crime or as a threat to society, because they know he is working towards their benefit and has a moral minimum while doing it. They know that he is not a murderer, which is why it is easy for Batman to get support in status quo. Currently, the existence of the bat signal and the existence of like people looking up to Batman as a hero is proof that public already currently has a lot of faith in Batman. We tell you that at the point in which he starts killing people, it is much more likely that people will oppose him because they don't agree with him morally, right? Their threshold for like looking at somebody as a savior can directly clash with their view of him as a murderer. And what is the impact of that? The impact is that the freedom with which he currently operates, the ability for him to like burst in anywhere, the kind of support he gets from society is going to be largely hampered. The kind of freedoms he has to operate and save the city in the first place is largely hampered, and he's almost most likely to be antagonized. He's likely to be seen as this ruthless murderer who goes on killing sprees and takes law in his own hands to the extent to which he calls himself God and takes life, right? And that is really bad, because antagonization is directly opposite of Batman's aims, right? Because he wants to be, his base motivation is to save Gotham, and it's to be rid Gotham and be seen as a Gotham savior. And the point at which public starts perceiving him as the exact opposite, it goes directly against his whatever his base motivations for his action are in the first place. Next they come in and tell us that it is ethical for him to kill, right? We tell you that is not really true, because the reason Batman, an individual who has seen a lot of trauma in his life, a person who has been through a lot of hardships, often lives with himself and carries on, is because of these principles that he abides by. He views himself as a principled man. He views himself as somebody, he views himself as somebody with a moral minimum, and that is how he justifies to himself his actions. The ability of him to differentiate himself from the people he is attacking is the very reason he goes ahead and is able to survive in his role, right? We tell you that this is the fact that he is able to the fact at the point at which he starts killing people for killing other people, he kind of puts himself in the same position he is putting his enemies. And we think that the kind of toll and the kind of horrible things that the Batman will have to live with, the blood on his hands, is ultimately going to lead to his downfall. It is ultimately going to lead to him not being able to carry himself anymore, because largely we can see that that it is easier for Batman to kill his enemies, because and he is not going to have the selective killing procedure that cannot be a justifiable model, because we've proven to you how it is so much easier for Batman to go ahead and kill his enemies because of his resources, because of his training, because of his skills. He has disproportionate power over his enemies, which is why it is so much easier for him to kill them. And lastly, let's talk about the effectiveness of this policy, right? Let's see if this will really deter crime or end crime the way they want to tell you. We tell you that decapitation is ineffective, right? Because as we've already said, the idea of a villain is not the individual identity of the Joker or the other person. It is largely a mantle carried out by the Joker. There's chaos is still going to exist in this planet, which is why crime is always going to exist in this planet. There is always going to be a new bad guy. There is always going to be a new person. The lives that they are saving aren't really being saved, because sure, the same person isn't going to be taking these lives. It's going to be a new person. But the net effect of the lives being lost is going to continue on. It is going to exist over and over again. However, we feel that Batman's current strategy of systematic breakdown, when we talk to you about how he breaks down the supply chain of a drug dealer, at the point at which he goes ahead and exposes corruption in multiple organizations and corporations, we tell you that these systematic efforts take a lot more effort, and because of his no-kill rule, he takes the time and the energy to do that. And we tell you that this systematic breakdown of crime in Gotham is so much more effective. It is so much more likely to work, right? And now they come in and tell us that, hey, these jokers is always going to escape, and we tell you that a better solution to that would probably be reforming the Arkham prison, or even exposing the corruption in the law enforcement agencies, right? We tell you that these systematic breakdowns and these other measures which Batman currently adopts are much more permanent ways to deter crime, and we think that exposure, etc., is probably more likely, because they haven't come in and told us why the death of an individual, or even the fear of death, is essentially going to deter crime, especially if their villains are so psychotic that they really do not give a shit. Their motivation is to cause chaos, and they're going to cause chaos regardless. So what have we told you? We've spoken to you about how he's more likely to live on, how he's more likely to be revered, and lastly, we've spoken to you about how there are better, effective ways to do this. We are very proud to oppose.
All right. Thank you to the Leader of Opposition. Now I'd like to call upon the Prime Minister, the Deputy Prime Minister. Here.
Sorry, I'm going to set up my timer. Just wait a minute. Thanks. Okay, okay. 3, 2, 1, go. Sometimes the only solution to a criminal who is a psychopath, who has given all up his entire humanity to kill people at random, to kidnap children, to separate families, is the only solution that is possible is death. Sometimes the system cannot correct these individuals. Some individuals are not rehabilitable, and sometimes these criminals need to die in order to prevent future suffering under society, right? So I would like to talk about two things in my speech. Firstly, about the principled level of analysis to why Batman should kill these criminals. And secondly, the pragmatic effects of these policy towards the public view and solving crime, right? But firstly, I would like to look at the principled analysis. Like, their only response to say is that Batman will not selectively kill. But then Batman will not selectively kill, right? But then when we see Batman, we need to see the principle he had in the first place. He had personal reasons to actually have this law in the first place, to not actually kill individuals. He had the principle to actually he wanted to actually allow these individuals to have the chance to rehabilitate themselves. There's the previous speaker contradicted themselves when they say that Batman has moral imperatives, right? He has a principle. That thus then proves that Batman will not selectively kill, right? He will not just randomly kill everyone. He will not randomly just kill all the criminals. He will selectively kill the individuals he believes to be beyond rehabilitation, who become psychopaths such as Joker, who aren't able to actually go back to society and effectively contribute, right? But even on a deeper layer of analysis is that these individuals are inhuman. They actively violate the rights of these individuals. They're completely malformed. They kill random people just for the sake of it. Because of this, Batman can violate their rights. They are inhuman, they are crazy, they are killing more people, and Batman also needs to protect the rights of the innocents who they actively kill, right, through their activities. This principle of Batman to actually not kill is useless, because the base of his principle is to have less deaths. But by not killing, he's creating more deaths, and this principle, the reason for this principle is thus then useless, right? But secondly, I'd like to talk about the pragmatic benefits, right? Their main claim is that they have two claims here. First is that crime is never going to end, and secondly, the public view, right, which is we already talked about that. Firstly, on the crime that crime is never going to, the logic that crime is never going to end. We give you two responses to this. First, they never, three responses rather. Firstly, they never actually prove to you how crime will never end. There are systems that are actually can solve crime. Firstly, we say that's the deterrence. When Batman shows that he can kill criminals who are crazy, he can be a deterrent. He can be someone who the criminals fear. And these criminals, when they know that Batman will kill them, when these criminals are going, or these criminals commit these crimes, Batman becomes a deterrent factor. This can be seen in the Duterte regime, right? By his killing of these drug dealers, less and less people are actually going to selling these drugs, less doing these crimes, right? But secondly, they tell you on their model that they want to change the system, that Batman can fundamentally change the system. This is completely untrue. Batman is only one person. Note he is only a vigilante that not everyone even knows his true identity is. He's not able to actively solve these things. He's not able to give the people the money. He's not able to create more bigger prisons. And the fact is, most of these criminals will actively just recruit more people. And with the existence of the Joker and his facade, he'll just create more criminals, give them the ideology to actually harm them. So what the very least that Batman can do is actually kill these individuals. Kill these individuals who actively create more chaos, who actively recruit more people to create more chaos, when Batman does not have the capability to fundamentally change the system when these criminals exist under both sides of the house. But secondly, on their claim about the Batman on the public, this is a direct clash to our first argument, how the public will see Batman, right? They tell you that the main logic of their argument is that the public wants Batman to actually to not kill, right? But then when the public actually sees the news, when they see the news that Batman failed to save a woman who had children and who actively goes to school, and because the Joker was able to kill this person because of Batman's policy to not kill the Joker or kill the criminal underlings of the Joker, these are the scenarios when Batman is antagonized, and when they see him as failing, they're more likely to actually vote against vigilante activities. Most individuals have are not all that when these individuals actually weigh the things, right? Batman not killing and Batman not actually saving these people, the public will most likely just see the negative. But the negative is much larger on our side of the house, when Batman allows these individuals to actually keep committing the crimes that has assaulted human dignity for so long. But then next, I'd like to talk about an extension. The Batman is able to gain more support from the police, right? We can see that many police states do not allow the death penalty from occurring. However, note how the Gotham police is corrupt from the info side. Their incentive is to support Batman in order to make them look good when Batman is actively able to solve crime and actually become a savior for Gotham City. However, when Batman fails to beat criminals who have always escaped prison, like Joker, and he fails to save the lives due to his principle, the public will see him as a failure. The police will then want the public support and attain the votes to actually gain the funding or better equipment or salaries or stay in their position like the chiefs, right? The superintendent. So when the corrupt police sees Batman as more effective by abolishing his principle, this will make the police continue to support him in order to gain support. The headlines will be that Batman saved these individuals, saved these families from the Joker who have killed like thousands of people, right? The corrupt police would most likely rather maintain their positions, gain public support, rather than fall in line with their no-kill principle that the corrupt police already experiences. Why is this important? We say that it is easier for Batman to find criminals through the records. Secondly, he will not be labeled as a criminal while engaging in vigilante activities, so Batman can actually find more criminals. At the end of this debate is about finding the ways that Batman can actively support his community. The principle is useless when it actively creates more deaths that the principle originally wanted to oppose, right? And secondly, the public view is of Batman not able to save these lives. They're not able to save the families. And this is when the public turns against Batman. We are very proud to propose.
All right. Thank you to the Deputy Prime Minister. Now I'd like to call upon Deputy Leader of Opposition. Here.
Hi, am I audible? Hello, am I audible?
Yep. You can start anytime, yeah?
Oh, wait. Was I not audible? I already started. I'll start again. Sorry. Hello, hello. Hello, am I audible? I'll just refresh it.
Yep, I can hear you.
You can hear me now? Cool.
Yep.
Can you just keep a timer for me? So it's becoming difficult for me to keep a timer on my phone and
Yeah, sure. I'll clap in the first minute, the 6th minute, and 2 claps on the 7th minute.
Yeah, cool, thanks.
Okay.
So I'll start in 3, 2, 1. The case opening government has been running so far is an intersection of an intersection. The first filter they prove is like, look, these are only heinous criminals who have probably committed 100 murders in the past. Second layer of filter, this prove, look, these are psychopathic, crazy individuals who do not comprehend anything. That is the second filter. And the third filter they prove is, look, these people are beyond rehab. I think that is a very minute perspective of what the debate is about. We reject that the debate is only about those kind of criminals, right? I think it is about more people like Two-Face, people like the Riddler, people like Bane, right? Who are like people enough managed to the society. But this debate is about whether while deciding how to tackle these people like Riddler or Two-Face, who are like not those heinous in the first place, should Batman go ahead and try to kill because he does not trust the corrupt police system or the prison system in the first place? I think this debate is about that decision-making process and whether we should allow him to kill there or not. It is not only about Joker and like Penguin, etc., etc. Like 4 things in my speech, like why principally Batman should not decide. Second, on the idea of effectiveness. Third, why this will lead to a killing spree, and fourth, on the idea of public legitimacy. I'll take you access. So look, the reason principally Batman should not do this is essentially twofold, right? Understand, like, A, decisions and morals in society are subjective to what essentially people want, right? Even though Batman is like a savior, a very well-trained individual, he is not a perfect individual, and his ideals may clash with society anyways. But the reason in society we allow some people to be killed is only when there is some sort of societal agreement that this person is like menace to the society and he needs to be killed. The form of the way in which that societal agreement is garnered is by, say, law, where like people go ahead and sentence someone and things like that. I think none of that happens here, where Batman is the sole authority to decide, and hence it is principally abhorrent for him to decide. But secondly, panel, understand, like, criminals also at some place are product of what menace in society and what and what society has done to them. People like say like the Riddler or Two-Face have been like betrayed by society, who were good individuals earlier, and I think these individuals deserve a second chance to life, and these individuals like deserve the ability to get rehab in the future. I think this debate is essentially about that choice which is to be made, whether Batman should trust the system to rehab these people, or like himself go ahead and kill these people. Now moving on to the second thing in my speech, why this idea will not be effective. Panel, understand it is a lie from them when they tell you that, look, Joker and Penguin have not been eradicated at all. Like, read the context slide. The context slide says that he has been successful in tackling people like the Joker, etc., etc. But on a comparative, like the reason, I'll take the POI in the 5th minute before that, but reason on a comparative that is still better is this. Look, what happens currently is that the way in which Batman tackles crime is that he tries to break organization networks. Right? He tries to take away supply of drug cartels, etc., etc. For example, in the Killing Joke, when he wanted to like bust a ring of pedophiles headed by Joker and like a drug supplier headed by them, he tried to go ahead and rescue those people and break away those supply chain and take away his money for him to perform these functions. these things led to the Joker not being able to do much more crimes on a larger spectrum of time, and hence hindered their function. But on a comparative, when Joker himself died in future, and like if you see the newer version of comics, what has happened that even though Joker has died, there has been someone new from his organization who has taken up that mantle of sadness and chaos and still tries to permeate the idea of Joker. So understand, panel, these villains like Joker and Penguins are not only individuals, these are ideas which are permeated in society, the ideas of chaos, the ideas of suppression. So then the only way to tackle them is to go ahead and like look for permanent and long-term change, like my first speaker told you, and try to create structural changes and try to challenge these people structurally. I don't think like the deterrence they want to talk to you about is enough, because by their own framing, these people are not afraid to die, etc., etc. So I don't think their policy is effective at all. Yes, your PON.
So do you support the vast majority of the world that has capital punishment for those who mass murder, and the usage of SWAT and FBI that literally use lethal force against simple things like organized crime in your house?
Yeah, look, the reason we are okay with capital punishment is because society in some form or the other gives consent for you to go ahead and take that capital punishment in the first. At the point which I'm a part of a democratic country, I sign to that democracy and I sign to that legal system, and I consent to that person being killed. That is the essential difference here. No one consents to Batman killing. But then next, moving on to why this will lead to a killing spree in the first place. Panel, understand like the barrier between like Batman currently being a savior and him being an executioner in his future is this oath, right? If you look at Batman and read about his history, he has an overburdened and a dark history where he has gone through enough suffering, seen enough suffering. Right? He had multiple accounts have told why his first instinct at dealing with someone is killing, but because he wants to curb that instinct, he has come up with this rule that Batman should not kill. The origin of this rule was essentially this instinct of Batman and this depression Batman had and this mental instability Batman had to like go ahead and kill people, right? So at the point which this barrier is broken, I think it will become more easier for him to access this, because look, let's be fair, he has all the resources to try and go ahead and kill any person he wants, right? So at the point which it becomes more easier for him to do so, and he does not have the barrier which was not allowing him to access that thing in the first place is not there, I think he's more likely to kill more people, and that is direct clash with them trying to claim that look, he will not kill anymore, blah 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 and shit like that. Now, last one, the idea of public legitimacy. Their idea of public legitimacy is that look, like people will look up to him more when they see that look, crimes are less in society, but if crimes are more because people are not killed, they will like not like Batman. That idea again is based on the idea of effectiveness, and I've told you why this idea is not effective, like in the short term or in the long term, by giving you several examples. But panel, understand like the kind of allies he's likely to lose out on their side of the house. Right? In status quo, there are many allies which like Batman has, like Commissioner Gordon or like people in the police who are insider informants, and these people like Batman because he has certain boundaries and he respects certain boundaries in society. Right? The reason they're able to differentiate Batman from like another criminal is because the criminal crosses that boundary of killing people, but Batman does not. Right? He sees necessarily a person who brings people to justice and is a protector of justice. I think that notion of him being a person who brings people to justice and him being a protectioner of justice is very important for his function, because he needs these allies like Commissioner Gordon or like people in the police system, people in hospitals, etc., for him to go ahead and try to gather intel on which criminals to target and how to target. I think on opposition world, like social net or like say the input mechanism is taken away from. How much time do I have left?
It's already 7 minutes.
Yeah. So panel, the essential burden in this debate on opposition is essentially to prove that why it is not only justified to kill say Joker or Penguin, but why is it also justified to kill people like Harley Quinn, etc., etc. And we have told you why this is likely to become a more prominent policy in the future. We have told you why it is not effective and why it will lead to a loss of public legitimacy. For all those reasons, we're very proud to propose. Thank you. Please vote government. Yeah.
All right. Thank you to the Deputy Leader of Opposition. Now to start the case for the closing half, I'd like to call upon the Member of Government. Here.
Hi, am I audible? Okay. Yeah, so sorry, let me read the papers. Side opposition fell in this debate when they failed to respond to our POI. Because their case isn't why Batman killing is bad, their case is why killing is bad in and of itself. When they agree that the states do use capital punishment to punish individuals who literally commit mass amounts of murder, which isn't comparable to Bane, who marched a nuclear football right into the heart of Gotham City, where it isn't comparable to Joker, that on multiple occasions have planted bombs in buildings that threaten the lives of thousands of individuals, but moreover, that the state within the present status quo already employ lethal force in enforcing it against individuals who commit a large amount of social harm that detriments multiples of innocent lives, for example. Why is it then unjust for Batman as the protector of justice in Gotham City when you have inept police and inept law enforcement? Why is it that he isn't able to principally use the most effective way of combating those kinds of crime? Let us be clear with the burden is debate, because opening opposition had no courage to take the burden at all. They say this debate is only about Harley Quinn, guys, not just about Bane, not just about Joker. But on the other side of the house, they can't kill anyone. Only when you abolish the rule to not kill can you selectively choose who you want to kill and who you won't want to kill. We are okay with killing Harley Quinn, we're okay with killing Joker, but I think the vast majority of cases where Batman won't kill, for example, is if there's theft on the street. Is if, for example, there is a rape going on. Because in those instances, he doesn't require lethal force to end up saving individuals in that case. He only needs to, for example, use his martial arts skills. But when Joker and Harley Quinn are actively armed with weapons and guns, when Bane marches a nuclear football into the middle of the stadium, we think he should be able to stop that and nip it right from the butt. Opposition had to justify all these cases because only in these cases there are massive harms towards the vast majority of innocent civilians in Gotham. Don't let closing opposition run away from their burden. 3 key issues in this speech. Number 1, who better preserves Batman's image? And here's where I deal with the structural harms of opening government, right? Their problem in opening half is that Goff claims that people want Batman to save more lives. Op claims people love Batman for his principle and therefore people won't agree with him if his kills. No one actually decided to analyze the psyche of individuals within Gotham City, their experiences, how to prioritize what they want. Here's how closing government will enter this debate. We think Gotham citizens suffer a lot from supervillains, right? Joker literally planted bombs in buildings, Sandman killed hundreds in his rampage, Bane literally threatened a nuclear missile and killed innocent lives in the process. All those harms have led to a level of literally thousands of lives being lost on a net because Batman wasn't able to interfere from the start and nip it from the bud because he, as opposition says, took time to dismantle the operations that infiltrated first. We think in that time, a lot of individual lives have been lost. But even if lives weren't lost, and we assume that though this wasn't true, Batman was able to stop it from the early on, we think all these cumulative experiences have led to individuals in Gotham City having a large amount of fear for the kinds of perverse harms that in supervillains can dealt upon them. The fact that they could literally lose their lives when Bane threatened them with a nuclear football, for example, structurally proves that they have a structural fear for the acts of supervillains as a whole. And specifically when their own lives are threatened in the process, when they were the individuals in that building, we think that collective trauma means that they probably would want Batman or any law enforcement agency as a whole to prioritize not letting these crimes happen or more effectively dealing with these crimes on both sides of the house. What does this mean? This means the priority of these individuals is one of self-preservation and making sure that, noting the peril that we are able to use lethal force in society, that we are able to use capital punishment. This is already a justified and legitimate tool that law enforcement can use. They ride upon that principle. But here's where we ground it even further with realism. That post 9/11 in the US, the funding and public policy to challenge terrorism as a whole became the primary platform that led to the future presidents being elected. That all the presidents now put large amounts of funds into combating terrorism, into funding CIA, into funding FBI. And all these come from the collective trauma they feel from the lives being threatened and from the lives that have been lost. Structurally, this means that I think Batman's image is one image that are better preserved when Batman is able to solve those harms on our side of the house. And not specifically then the principle is one, because opening opposition's only justification for the principle is people don't consent to it. I think when people consent to law enforcement using it and they realize that promoting our structural analysis to the extension about how we're able to prove that they're prioritizing their lives over this idea of morality, we would say that on the outside of the house, the people do consent to it. Batman does have a principled justification, but to do so. But moreover, we think the burden of this debate isn't to prove that Batman should act within the law. Batman is literally a vigilante as a whole. He is already above the law in the kinds of things he does. When he stuns enemies, he's already a vigilante justice. He's not proper law enforcement. We think on our side of the house, we don't have to defend defend that principle justification. Second strong then on the principle. Not specifically that the law enforcement status quo is able to use lethal force for two key reasons. A, specifically for self-defense. I would like to note that nobody really analyzed Batman's position in this debate. I think it's really important because both sides assume Batman is able to survive every single instance of fighting crime. Note, he cannot fight crime effectively if all he can do is stun Joker. If Joker doesn't get stunned, he can shoot Batman right in the face. I would propose that because both sides agree that Batman is the only semblance of any form of justice within Gotham City, that he's the only individual that can save people on the ground, we propose that maybe preserving Batman's ability to live in and of itself is the principal priority in this debate, specifically when you have nuclear level threats like Bane and Joker. Only when you're able to use whatever is in your ammunition, use whatever is in your toolbox to combat the kinds of crimes you are tackling, only then you're able to effectively level up the playing field and have the benefits that both sides want in this debate. Before I move on, I'll take one from closing if they have
one. Opening. Do you think these criminals act in isolation or do they act in rings? If they act in rings, why is like killing only Joker like essential or effective to eliminate the whole network?
Yeah, they definitely act in rings, but they have leaders, right? Like Joker is the leader of his ring, which is why if you kill Joker, probably means that operations cannot be built because Joker was the mastermind behind all of this. He is the psychopath that can plan all those bombings. We think if you kill it from his side, for example, you won't have all these sequels of Joker becoming a recurring threat. That is the world in which you need to defend on your side of the house. But the second principle, beyond self-defense, is literally the form of social good that people agree on. There's a net harm to not killing supervillains that the normal legal system, even in the current status quo, allows us to kill individuals who pose large amounts of threat to society, which is why we use CIA and FBI operations to tackle things like terrorist bombings and terrorist attacks. The comparative opposition is that they still have all these criminals on their side of the house because, not specifically, all the criminals that we have seen in Batman movies have been recurring ones, that when they got into prison, their crime organization broke them out. Not because the crime organization was literally competent enough to do so, but because their leader had those plans laid out way before. The Joker planned for all these contingencies way before. Not specifically, the moment you kill the leader and kill the individual that's able to galvanize all the form of recruitment in the very first place, you're far less likely to have less individuals onto crime, but more importantly, you're far more likely more competent in dealing with crime because the ringleaders in and of themselves are nipped in the butt. We would say that on-site government, we propose that Batman should use violence, and that's the only way in which he's able to effectively carry his duty and protect the people of Gotham. Proud to propose.
All right. We thank the member of government for that speech. Now I'd like to call upon the member of opposition. Here.
Just give me a few seconds to set up my timer.
All right.
Let's begin my speech in 3, 2, 1. Coming from closing opposition, we think you either die a hero or live long enough to become a villain. Batman's very own sidekick, Robin, has failed into villainy once he started to distract himself from the ways of what Batman does, and he doesn't kill people. What Robin did is he started to kill people, and what happened is he started to become a villain. It stopped his moral code, it harmed his moral code, and it allowed him to become a detrimental threat to the city. So what I want to talk about here. First, I want to say that the opening clashes are two things. First, they want to solve chaos in the city and how they can be as simple to the people in order for justice to be served. I think closing opposition wins this debate by providing to you that Batman as a moral person is effective in of itself, and the narrative it brings to society is beneficial to us. But also, we delineate from OO by proving to you as to why chaos is even worse once you're able to kill Batman, kill Joker and all of these lunatics. So closing government first said that presumably you're supposed to kill these people because you can't rehabilitate these people anymore. I think this is very, very harmful to what they mean, because presumably if this is true that you can't rehabilitate these people anymore, then that means you also kill people who are mentally ill. This is true because this means that you give up rehabilitating its people because you see no use of these people and it can only bring harm. This looks like this harms people with mental illness or with birth defects that take the same analysis of not being able to rehabilitate these things because you don't have the enough medical use or medical research in order to fix these things. So what instead do these people do is that they exploit resources in order to stay alive. They exploit things from their parents for money and they leech off of them without contributing to society at all. And we think that is very detrimental to these people. So we think that is a harm. But secondly, they also said they want to say that Batman is still human, so they want to preserve his life. I think this is a harm in of itself because not only killing lunatics doesn't solve this problem, but it actually makes it even worse. Because now that you deem human as a god, Batman as a god, that means that he has legitimacy in order to deem anyone as a threat, in order to preserve his own life. So this means like actively killing people even though they're innocent. But secondly, I also want to talk to you about what OG said. So OG said that they want to
structure by speech to be able to tackle OG's missing nuance, OO's missing analysis, and CO's fault in analyzing this debate. This debate was not about abolishing the Batman. The Batman will exist on either side of this debate. The question is the practices that are legal and should be involved in for the Batman. I have 4 issues for you today, rebuttals intertwined. Number 1, on public opinion and do we need it? Notice that this is in direct clash to CO's material about cultivating a ray of hope for the people. First of all, I don't think Batman gives a shit whether you like him or not. I think what the Batman wants is for the individuals of Gotham to be able to be okay and to be able to be living in a safe environment. I have 3 responses as to why you don't need public opinion to be effective. Number 1, we have an independent operation of Batman. The money, the equipment, Batman is SEAL Team 6 in one body. He does not crowdfund. He does not require the jurisdiction of other individuals. If we are above the law, we don't even need things like cooperation and filing for like witness reports or stuff like that. We have mass surveillance. We have cameras. We see the Batman doesn't require the aid and the cooperation of the people. Number 2, on image. We don't hate soldiers just because they kill enemy combatants in war. I think we moreover actually glorify them. But also, even if we didn't have that ray of hope, I don't think closing opposition's ray of hope is going to save you from getting shot, from getting raped, from allowing crime to occur within your organized crime circles within Gotham, right? Also, if we live in a superhero world, there's also people like the Avengers who kill people, right? I don't understand why the delineation is. But the third response, there is faith to be found in the general good of society. So contrary to what opening opposition says, even if not everybody agrees with the death penalty in certain states of the United States, the reason that he is okay with it is because there is an understanding that the general good of society does not require your intervention unless you are directly affected by it. So the overall good stemming from the fact there are less serial killers because Arkansas had a death penalty which reduced them means that I don't mind that consequence because overall is of overall benefit to me. No one's going to be able to protest the ability for serial killers to die. Second point on deterrence. So CO thinks that the whole jurisdiction of the government should be left and that Batman should be the one that like abstains from government processes. OG told you that criminals will not be stopped unless Batman kills, but they never told you specifically why they can't just break his leg or they can't stun them. And they never told you specifically why jail and law enforcement won't work. That is stuff that Wee-Ern told you. 2 things. Number 1, law enforcement is in the pocket of the mob under this world. If you have a world where you can sneak in nuclear bombs and allow judges to get away with skimpy decisions and allow crime on the streets, your law enforcement is already in the pocket of the mob, or even the good ones are not going to intervene because they're too scared of that power. Batman is the only one that can help you. Second thing, jails and the judiciary are also in the pockets of this same mob. This means that any convictions that you get are also under the fear of the fact that there is no law enforcement to protect you should the mob go burn up my house or send another assailant to those areas. Law enforcement is shabby and Batman is the only one in this world. That directly clashes CO's material. But the impact of this is criminals are not going to have any fear from law enforcement. They're going to continue to parade all of their crime because of the fact that there is no incentive to cover up. And we think that the fear of death in of itself is something that is scary. You can, if you don't exist in a society where you fear law enforcement, because law has never existed in your life, the concept that you will always fear is death. Because death is an end-all, be-all. But even if they don't fear death, and the minor calculus of individuals who don't fear death, we don't think they can be rehabilitated or deterred, right? In that matter, we say, fine, they don't need to fear us. They can die. It is okay with that. We are okay with biting that bullet. The comparative is, ladies and gentlemen, is that if you have 100 thugs that Batman arrests and doesn't kill, all criminals in Gotham City know that I can get away with any crime and not face any kind of punishment, and the judiciary won't commit me, and law enforcement is not going to convict me. Third issue, whether Batman can kill sensibly or not. This clashes directly with opening opposition's material and CO's material about whether Batman can kill sensibly. OO says that the Batman is going to kill just because of human nature, and human nature is to allow things that don't have rules. Let's attach this on two prongs. Number one, the principles of the Batman. It is really, really odd that the first speaker can come up and tell you that Batman cares so much about the principles, so he won't kill. But then the second speaker comes up and tell you that if Batman kills, he's going to abandon all his principles and become a full maniac and a serial killer. We say that's principally inconsistent. The principle of personal morals and the need of Batman, even if they were true, do not override the utility of other people to be safe within the society. That is something that you carry as an individual whose parents were gunned down from life, from a young age. So you can prevent the similar things from happening to other individuals. How does this weigh out against the principles of fair trial? Notice that even the law under status quo, which they would allow, SWAT teams are allowed to deploy force when it is required. Second prong, Batman is hugely overqualified. CEO says that we're going to kill people improperly, that Batman is not going to function within the boundaries of morality. Noticing that we are combining the most powerful military force in the world with a moral compass. This means that I'm going to avoid killing when I can because I'm almost omnipotent. If myself, I'm not going to beat a child to death just because he punches me once. If Batman has armor, he won't kill when you have a gun or a knife. The debate happens where in the instances where I can save a life or I can save myself, if I actually kill somebody, that is where this policy will occur. That is where they fail to provide to you. This cuts out all of the mental illness stuff from CO and OO, right? Presumably, Batman also has surveillance to be able to know who he wants to assassinate. Presumably, I know whether I can track down this guy and who he is and what he is, right? All teams in this debate have already agreed on that process. They cannot deny it from us now. Final issue, effectiveness. Killing is not the only option. If OO and CO want things like affirmative action and all the billionaire classes and introducing money into the system of Gotham City, that's not mutually exclusive. That's fine. We're going to introduce that as well. We'll make anonymous donations. We'll support affirmative action. We're fine with the social reform that can come from the money of Batman. We think that's okay. We're also okay with cutting off the supply chains of the narcotics, right? But if we have to include death to save a life, or instant lives, or including our life, we think that's fine. Notice that if Batman dies, nobody else is going to be better off for it. We think that's a really good utility. But the final thing about criminals reincarnating, it can either be an invitation of challenge or a strict deterrence. We say that it is impossible for you to not fear not fear being killed under the status quo because of all the reasons we already told you about how death is an individual calculus that fears people. But also, even if you have factions, they're just going to cause a huge amount of infighting and a severe self-massacre to yourself, right? Because getting involved in it now means death. It means a man can kill you who will never be caught by the police. A man who you have to fear now because this is the only strict diligence against you. Ladies and gentlemen, we had to prove to you that Batman will be better off for this and that city will be better off for this. We say side with opposition.
All right. Thank you to the opposition government whip. So now I'd like to call upon the opposition whip to end the debate. Here.